thanks for meeting me today.
That's cool. That's cool.
So it was a bit of a ride up here from the shop. So
it
keeps me fit. Yeah, that's good. So I wondered if you could tell us a bit about your club and a bit about yourself.
Well, myself, I started martial arts, I think in 1963, doing judo. And I remember watching the 1964 Tokyo Olympic Games because it had judo. And I'd been doing judo for a little while, my memory serves. And pretty much unbroken since then, so 50 odd years. And through judo, I went to Shotokan karate. From there to Aikido. And then I found this, Budo Taijutsu. I found it 30 odd years ago. And I've been doing it ever since, really, with my own sort of flair. Because within that, most of my working life, since I was 18, I worked on the doors. I played rugby in those days. If you played rugby, you got invited to work on the doors. So I did 22 years as a doorman. And I also did 15 years as a bodyguard. And so that's my background. So I teach it in a way that is practical to me, and I wouldn't teach anything to somebody that I didn't feel would work in a given situation.
Yeah.
So that's my basis. I don't do technique for technique. I do the stuff that I think works. And my experience, that's my bent on it all.
Yeah. So like going back to when you started, it must have been like. I mean, judo was around, but it was still fairly new, right?
It was very new.
Shotokan the same. Aikido is probably the same.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like you've all started things when they were like
judo,
first on the scene.
I remember judo is very different to how it is now. Most of the throws that we did still exist. They were done kata form.
Right.
They were done in a kata, and the end of the kata was the throw. I don't see that anymore. And in that, there was a lot more leverage. Now judo is more muscular and big, strong and stuff, and that's very different when I did it as a child. Even my memory of that is very different. And I think that's, with many martial arts, it's gone the power route. Which is expedient, it's quick, it's efficient, but for a while. Because eventually, once we get into our middle age, those speed, the fitness and the strength deteriorate, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And so there is a smarter way, and so my intention is that start off that smarter way rather than going in because softness overcomes strength. Strength is one of the easiest things to overcome.
I always say slowly wins the race, but you know, some people don't agree with me.
Well, no, there are some very fit, very strong athletes out there, and that's what they are. But eventually, you know, I'm 60. Where are they?
Staying injury free, isn't it?
Pretty absolutely injury free. I don't have many injuries or anything like that because I train naturally with how the body's meant to train. So,
it's good. Next question. So, for those who don't know anything about your style, like Budo Taijutsu, can you call it ninjutsu?
You can call it ninjutsu.
So, can you maybe? I mean, it might be good to explain the difference, or why they're named differently, or
right. Well, Budo Taijutsu is the official name of what we do. But when people say, well, what is that then, really? When you say, heard of ninjas? Oh, yeah, ninjas. Oh, yeah. Problem with that is that, theoretically, we study 9 schools. Only 3 of those schools were ninjutsu schools. But then when you take that aside, what is ninjutsu? Ninjutsu is a very relatively modern term for a culture of people who lived in the mountainous regions of Japan who weren't allied with the samurai. That's all they were. And the history of Japan is a history of civil wars. And they kept pretty good record, the samurai, mainly about themselves and battles and stuff like that. And they did mention when they used outside forces, what do they call them? Anyway, outside forces. But they never mentioned getting them from abroad, which China was quite close, Korea was quite close. They didn't. So where did they come from? They came from different areas, mainly the mountains, and in most countries, mountainous people are the more warrior type, because they're Scots and tougher. So they utilised these people, and they were called for what they were used in those days. And I don't quite know when the term ninja came, but that's quite a relatively modern term. And the idea of the ninja with the black cowl and all that kind of business dates from an illustration. The first illustration of a ninja he's climbing across a rope, across a castle, I think it is, if my memory serves me well. And he's dressed like this. And so the Western view is that's what they wore.
Yeah.
But if you know anything about Asian puppet theatre or the no theatre, that's what they dress like. And if you dress like that, you're deemed invisible to anybody else.
Right, yeah.
So what the Japanese illustrator was showing was that he's climbing across in broad daylight, but they can't see him.
Yeah.
So, but we do wear black, but that's not because of that. It's just, I think we asked the question much years ago, and black is the colour of forbearance.
Yeah.
And that's why we wear black. And so that's the history of ninjutsu. And there's myths about ninjas that they did shurikens and nobody else. And samurai, most samurai did shurikens. And so the difference between the martial arts is not much.
Yeah.
The basic difference is that the samurai had a samurai culture, the people in the mountains and the mountain culture. So we're culturally different, kind of like the Welsh and the British and the Scots and the British and stuff like that. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the major difference.
Yeah, so if someone wanted to come to this club or go to a ninjutsu club, they'd probably get similar training?
So, well, there's the techniques are similarly written down, but on the interpretation, one of the great things about Budo Taijutsu, you have an open policy on interpretation. And so you can go to my partner in Ireland. When she met me at a seminar, she asked me what I studied, and I told her. She said, "That can't be true because I'm studying that in Ireland." She thought it's a completely different system. And that's the interpretation.
Right, okay.
That's the interpretation.
So you can play with it a bit?
You can play with it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Gives you
We still
freedom, I guess, right?
Still work a lot from the written form, and in writing, any kind of writing, there's a lot of interpretation.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's good. So if I came to like a class, if I came here today, I mean they're training now, arm locks by the looks of it. What could I expect as well as arm locks? Like what could I, coming through the door, I've never done anything before, what would I expect from like a first class?
Well, a first class, the first thing that we're trying to instill in people is that balance. We teach you how to hold your posture, and then from that, moving through posture, and then it's basic. You start off with grappling. Grappling is the easiest thing to teach, and if you're into striking, striking is deemed easy to teach, but it's technically more difficult to teach. And I've been analysing martial arts. I've been doing martial arts over 50 odd years, and I read a lot and all that kind of business. So I have lots of my own ideas which I implement and test out theories and stuff like that. And so everything from stand-up, ground fighting, weapons, non-weapons, the whole gamut really, anything that we can throw into the mix, anything that deems worth interesting to give it a go and work out whether it works or not.
So there's quite free. It sounds like it's quite free in terms of like your classes week to week. Or
yeah.
Did you have like, is there a syllabus?
There's a syllabus. We have quite a tight syllabus, but I don't do lesson plans or anything like that. I just turn up. See who's available tonight. With the fitness club raging through Bristol, and so we don't have many students. Yeah. And so if I came with a specific lesson plan, it may not work tonight because the senior instructors aren't here and blah blah blah. Yeah. So I just turn up and start with an idea and we go through there. Yeah. And when people are coming towards their grades, we hone things specifically for that. But we have quite a strong syllabus.
Right. Yeah. So I had a quick nosy through your website, and I saw earlier when I came in that there was a kids class.
Kids class, yes.
So you do kids classes?
We do teach.
No, that's all right. I get loads. I have people in the shop today that always ask about kids classes. Like starting age is always a massive thing. I think like by the time the kids 18 months, the parents are going crazy and they're like, let's get them somewhere. So I mean, most classes start obviously much later than that.
Yeah. I mean, Sinead teaches children's classes here, and we have 4 or 5 other children's classes. She's the best instructor I've ever come across with children. She absolutely loves it. She teaches special needs children and across the board. And we teach a mix of Kenbu, which is the martial art that she did before in Ireland many years ago. 8 times world champion in Kempo.
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 Yeah.
In Kempo.
Yeah.
In Kempo. which is the martial art that Elvis Presley did.
Like American Kempo.
American Kempo. Yeah, that's what she did. And she's with the Bujinkan and with the Budo Taijutsu. We mix them, so obviously there are things that are not applicable to children in both systems, and we take those out.
Yeah.
And we have a very good grounding, and so they have a sporting element in what she teaches. And they start from, we don't have a definitive age. The question that we try and formulate is, can they take instruction? If you're not
can they stand in the line?
Can they stand in the line? If you can take instruction, I've met adults who can't do that, so there is no definitive age. So generally about 4.
You can't ask an adult that though, can you?
about 4 or 5 they generally start from. And this class here has been running about a year, and this was quite an interesting one because it got an invite to a local school to see if we could do some martial arts for their sports class once a week for 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a success that the parents wrote back and said, the kids are so taken with it, can you start a class? So we started a class, because we don't live in Bristol, we live in Gloucester.
Right, yeah.
So this is our one class outside of Gloucester. We have 3 classes in Gloucester, 3 children's classes in Gloucester. Yeah. And so we are moving along. Kids, this is really good, it's fun, it's interesting, and Sinead has a remarkable background in both the sporting martial arts and what we're doing here in Bujinkan. She's 5th down here and she's 3rd down in Kempo, very, very high ranks.
Yeah, it's good.
And she's been training most of her life.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I noticed you had a class in Gloucester and Swindon as well.
A class in Swindon.
Travel every week.
I have a class in Swindon. I have a which I do on Wednesdays, and I've got class in Gloucester on Mondays, and this is Tuesday. I have classes in Cardiff. I go once a month to Cardiff, and I've got classes in Torquay and a few places.
Okay. And is that instructors that have been here and moved, or
no,
have you set them up? Or?
I used to teach a bit more than I did now.
Okay.
16, 17 years ago when I started with all this, I taught a lot, and I decided. I basically went into retirement as a bodyguard, and I didn't quite know what to do with my life. And I did a seminar for somebody in a different system, Taekwondo. And he said, oh, you should start teaching. This is amazing, you should do it. So I thought, yeah, well, while I'm sorting my life out, I'll start teaching. But I said to myself, I would teach it in a way that I want to have been taught myself, and have my own ideas about teaching. Because I taught in the 90s, but it was very, very much in strict kind of following the rules, that kind of stuff. And so I thought I would change that a little bit. And so I started teaching in Cheltenham. It was a little class, it never really sort of picked up. And I couldn't work out whether it was my change of ideas or whatever. So I thought I'd start another class. So I decided to start one in Cardiff, because I knew somebody in Cardiff, and they could hire a hall for me. So I went down to Cardiff, and bang, it was huge overnight success. And obviously the class in Cheltenham never ever picked up, but all the other classes I did. It was just, and I think what it was is I think Cheltenham is not a big place for martial arts, and I think if you want to sell jewellery, go to jewellery quarter. Don't go if there's no jewellery.
Yeah.
I think that was basically in Cheltenham. There wasn't much there.
Yeah, it's true actually. It's probably the same now, right?
There isn't
much more in
there.
Gloucester.
No, there's a lot in Gloucester. There isn't much in Cheltenham.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And so so Cardiff started. But I couldn't keep, I was exhausting myself going around. And then after 10 years, I had people coming through who could instruct, and that's kind of what happened. So 17 years later, and that's it. It's just time. There's time,
Sounds busy. I mean, not many more questions really. I mean, do you have like plans for the future? I mean,
I have.
Are you kind of sitting it out, taking it easy now, or?
I could. People say, "Is this your hobby or whatever?" And it's not my hobby, because if I wasn't talking to you here, I'd be doing it. If this class didn't exist, I'd be doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be doing it. When I used to work abroad, I used to just in my spare time do it. I've been doing it since over 50 years, and it's just what I do.
It's like brushing your teeth, isn't it?
It is. Right? That's it. It's not. That's it. My hobby's watching rugby, Gloucester rugby. Oh my, that's a stressful hobby. But no, this isn't a hobby. It's just what I do, and it'll always be what I do. We went to Japan earlier last year, and we're going to go again this year. That's about it. And just keep going, and just try and keep the clubs running efficiently. We put a lot of emphasis on fun and friendliness and the joy of what we're doing. And through that you find your personal journeys and stuff like that. And so I'm not a strict instructor in that sense. I went through Cheltenham when you got slaps to try and get it wrong and people shouting at you and stuff like that. So I don't teach that much. I don't believe in it. And I believe some people with my system, I read a thing on Facebook about the very, very senior guy in Bujinkan talking about how his philosophy of teaching. And it's not mine. It isn't mine. But the beauty is, one of the reasons I still part of this wonderful setup is because we are basically given permission to do it your own way. After a certain rank, that's it. And so, so that's it.
So just finally, when can you give people information on your classes, like times, like addresses they can find on links, but just times, days, locations, things like that. Phone number, emails. And then I'll write it along the bottom.
So I don't know the address of this place off the top of my head. So this class takes place every Tuesday. The little ones start at 6 till 7. And the adults start at 6:30 and they go till 8. So there's a slight crossover period, but that's kind of good. My phone number 07776 20 20 11. Okay. It's a really good one. I've had that number
it's good
for a long, long time. 07776 20 20 11. And catch me at on email at marc@budowarrior.ninja.
And that's Mark with a C?
Mark with a C. Mark Boland.
Yeah.
I remember watching Mark Boland as a young lad on top of the pops for the first time. I thought, that man's cool. So that was it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy.
Cool.